Hello, everyone. Yeah, thanks, Mehdi, for inviting me to this to Media Futures and talk about learning analytics, an emerging field. So that I want to share with you and with Media Futures. So if everything is okay, please just yeah. If there's any issue, just please write in the chat and then we'll fix. But hopefully things are okay and my share screen is working. Okay, so yeah. So again, my name is Mohammad Khalil, and I am working as a senior researcher at the Center for the Science of Learning and Technology, SLATE at University of Bergen. I hold a PhD degree from Graz University of Technology in computer science, and specifically my PhD was about massive open online courses and learning analytics. And then I moved to Delft University of Technology to do a postdoc in web information systems, specifically on education technology. And then after that, I came here to University of Bergen to carry on and be a senior researcher here, and within a particular domain, which is learning analytics. Okay, so yeah, so we are working at the Center for the Science of Learning and Technology, as I said, and here in the center we have we are doing research into different areas. All of them are mainly into educational technology. And of course, you're welcome to have a look at our website. And unfortunately, here are the pictures that from the slate now because of the COVID-19. So not many people are there, but before it was really always busy, but hopefully we'll get into that soon. Okay, so some of the projects that we share here are really very much related, as I said, to education technology and also learning analytics. The slate has been funded by CODE, the Ministry of Education, and also University of Bergen, with a specific focus onto learning analytics, but also into other disciplines. So we have many projects. We have around 16, 17 persons working there. But really, one of the main concepts and one of the main research areas is the learning analytics. And here, part of the project here is a network analysis, some of these are very much connected to learning analytics, the other is partially connected. But yeah, I mean, there is kind of connections between all the projects, the people, something from higher education, the other is into schools, etc. And yeah, I'm happy to be here at Media Futures, and I am following the director of Media Futures and Mehdi Elahi, and usually checking the Facebook and Twitter and seeing some of the pictures. They're really nice, and it's very nice, like that these guys here have celebrated the first anniversary, and so it's very nice actually to be here and yeah, following hopefully with more and more success. And yeah, so a couple of days ago, me and Mehdi agreed to go to Bergen city center to the Yule market, and I checked the weather and it was good. And then when we went there, the weather was nice, and then we went and took a couple of pictures. On the right side is my son, and on the left is some of the decorations for the Christmas. And then Mehdi, of course, told me about some nice food, some nice stuff there. And yeah, we had some French crepe with Nutella, and that's around 250 calories. And after that, some of the families had churros, and I ate some, and that's another 350. And I saw Mehdi also having hot chocolate and told him that's too much sugar. And when I made some simple calculations, it was 680 calories. But luckily, only in 2 hours, we walked around 10,000 steps based on what I have on my smartwatch. And so but it was very lovely to see Mehdi, and also hearing more about his research and also Media Futures research areas. So jumping to the topic, it's about talking about educational data and how to how to employ educational data into practices. And basically, I usually start my presentations about this concept talking about something called digital exhaust. So data exists everywhere. When people use digital systems, they leave traces behind. And this is usually like the car exhaust, but here is digital exhaust. And now with Internet of Things, with computers, digital system computations everywhere, of course, all of them really depend highly on data. And it's very similar also to education, where also there are many education platforms, Canvas, MOOCs, multimodal, multi-channel, it's everywhere really. And yeah, many journals, experts, practitioners, researchers, scholars everywhere are talking a lot about data. It could be the new oil, and that data is really can be used to increase the increase the business and gain more money, or even have some influences. And most of you are aware of Facebook and the latest scandal from some of their employees talking about data and how it might be used to imply people's actions. And so, yeah, what I want to say is that data is really important. And yeah, we are following that in the educational stream, and bringing some insights to use it into an advantageous and peaceful manner. So that is everywhere. This is one of the pictures that I took at my home. I was like doing yeah, some projects with a lot of wires, a lot of tools, etc. But then is that with data, things are scattered, are everywhere. So we need to organize it. We need to find some interesting things. So the question or the idea is how we could move this into this working intelligent way and finding patterns. So it's the same concept, is that as data is scattered everywhere, connecting the lines, translating data into meaningful information is good to be called as analytics. And this is as maybe we can say it is data analytics. And with analytics, we connect nodes together. We looked at scattered data, and then to find some patterns and translate that maybe into actions that can be advantages. And this is what actually we can call as learning analytics. Learning analytics is an emerging field that nearly started in 2010, and it gained a lot of impetus that, as I will show soon. And there are a couple of 3-4 definitions. One of them is this one: the use of data about students and their activities to enhance education. Some other definitions are about using students' traces or trials to improve education. Other is about measurement, collection, analysis, and reporting of data to improve and optimize learning. So several definitions, but all of them share a similar definition or similar concept, which is using data to improve education and learning. And in 2021, there was an EduCode's Horizon report. It's kind of important report for education. And they say that, they look at the literature, they look at studies, and then they try to see and predict what is the future. And they predicted 6 areas that might be forecasted to be very important in the nearby future. And of course, artificial intelligence is one of the most important areas, but also learning analytics. So they defined it as an important area that will keep growing. And of course, yeah, based on many of the studies, it can be really used to be beneficial. Yeah, and of course, we saw that also the funding of like our center is just to argue and stress the importance of using data analytics in education, or what is called learning analytics. So in this presentation, I promised to talk about 4 Ws, and I will go through them, trying to be simple and also not too much boring. So of course, the first one is, where does this field originate from, and what theories influence the field, and how does it promote useful practices, and finally, what concerns raise through the usage of learning analytics. And so the first one that I will talk about is, where does it originate from? So actually, when we talk about education and technology, when we talk about learning analytics, people always take into mind the distance education. And distance education, usually people link that to online education, to Zoom meetings, to Canvas, learning management systems, MOOCs, Khan Academy, etc. But also in a larger halls, in a larger areas, in the large classrooms, also there is a distance education. And so this is actually very funny, is that even maybe in the second or the third row, people also could be disconnected. And yeah, so we kind of look and need the terminology of distance education. That's really happening not only in online systems or digital systems, but also into physical face-to-face, but maybe with distance between the instructor, the teacher, and the students from the other side. And of course, with education technology, as it has been important even and growing even before the COVID, but the World Economic Forum and the other areas, United Nations, so stress that now distance education, online education is very, very important, and it's very much needed. And of course, yeah, all of us know the why for this is that physical connections have been somehow completely absent. And so we need to find other solutions. So yeah, it has gained more and more impetus and momentum about online education. And yeah, of course, yeah, as we see here, I always like to bring that slide, is that, yeah, there has been a lot of rising video calls, and of course with some surprises,
thank you very much.
Like this quote here, is that some of these calls are, yeah.
Okay,
yeah, it's very interesting. So it's actually distance education, online education, and online learning comes
okay,
up
thank
with
you.
surprises.
Yes, I have
and so
a trip
back
coming
to
up
that
from
original
Oslo
question, is
to
that where
Miami
originates
in
from,
December.
and this is one of my slides that
Do you
I
have the
in
trip in front of you?
2015, and so it's based on the literature studies. And so there has been a lot of talk about is the field belong to education, does the field belong to pedagogy or psychology? Some others say it's computer science, but yeah, it should be about learning at the end. So it's not only about data analytics. So the difference is not only data analytics and just close our eyes about theories and about education. So I think the interesting point of learning analytics or data science in education is that we need to involve theory. We need to optimize learning at the end. It's not about just statistics, but we need to do kind of interventions and evaluate that and look at that and see if things are really going well. Is it really going well with the students? Is it really going well with institutions, with the higher management, etc.? And so I did a study, and now it's in press. We looked at the hashtags, and we looked at keywords from Twitter, and we searched for learning analytics, and then we get 1.6 million tweets, and then we mapped them on the world map, and we found a lot of interesting areas. But if you can see, there's more talks and more discussions about this field in the global north. And this is actually one of the problems in new fields, is that most likely, unfortunately, it comes only from the global north, and the global south is following. And yeah, so we in that study, we stress that there should be more open discussions and concept sharing, and more panels with the global north. But also through that study, we came up with interesting things is that when we looked at the topics, because we use topic modeling onto all these tweets as computational model, and we found we nearly categorize around 25 topics into 7 or 8 themes. But what we saw is that machine learning methods and artificial intelligence were really on the rise. And unfortunately, the education stream, which is the orange one, was dropping. And we also stressed that, artificial intelligence, talking about how we could use devices and technology and machine learning into improving education, but forgetting what is education about, forgetting what is the students about and how to improve that, I think is one of the major findings of this study. And as I said, I think with learning analytics, we don't only need to focus on data science and artificial intelligence and computer science and forgetting about psychology and learning theories, but we have to look into that too and make sense out of the data science based on that. So is that the difference between data-driven and theory-driven disciplines is very, very interesting area for scholars to explore. And then, here the Squid Game series and the role-playing game is that we saw that it's very much learning analytics, very much influenced by computer science versus the other disciplines, and the other researchers from psychology are fighting. We have a place here to talk about. But yeah, I think it's more driven by computer science too. And then I saw these pictures that maybe here are the computer scientists because they're the winners here, really. Yeah. Okay, so how the field originate and how it makes sense, the framework, it's very simple here, as you can see, is a loop starting. If we look at the learning environment where learners are there and students, instructors, researchers are there, but the most important are the learners who create data, and maybe it can be a big data, then using techniques from computer science, and then we find that maybe they can make kind of actions, and these actions that, as I will explain some, or bring in some examples from the literature and show you how people have been using learning analytics to improve education, is that kind of predictions, recommendations, etc. And then at the end, we need to optimize learning, because we don't, a lot of the studies stop at that place, doing intervention and being happy about it, but forgetting to optimize learning at the end. So what theories actually influence the field? So I found this very, very nice quote in our study that that is under review now, but that by Bordeaux and Wakwant, I think is the way its name is. They say research without theory is blind, and theory without research is empty. So we try them to stress that theory is very important, but also theory without validation is empty. And so through a systematic review study, we collected from the most important venues from learning analytics. They have a conference and also a journal, and we also look at some other areas, and we found around 355 papers talking about theories, and then only 69 somehow fit that, plus 5 from the journal. So around 74 out of 355, but also the how to say, the cloud is a lot, has a lot of studies, but we only found 355 and 41 from the journal, and by combining them, somehow the criteria only gave us 74 studies. And then when we looked at what are the theories that people have been using in learning analytics, we found that it's very much, they are using very much what's called self-regulated learning theory and cognitive metacognition theories. And yeah, so the others might only 3 or 2 or 1 theory being used or examined by learning analytics. And when we looked at how the theories are developing or how it has been used, the x-axis shows the year, and the y-axis shows the number of publications. And we really found that self-regulated learning is really getting higher and higher appearance in the papers, and they are being used more and more, and also the cognitive theory. However, some other theories are are never used after a while, after a couple, some years. Kind of, yeah, we can come up with some conclusions, but the interesting thing is that we concluded that learning analytics is very much influenced by a range of disciplines, not only computer science, but education, sociology, computer science, and economics, but also the theoretical pluralism found in this study is that some of these theories are on the wane, the other are on the ascendancy. The one is self-regulated learning, and some others, as I showed from other theories. Yeah, and then if we talk about useful practices and how the field is has been used to promote kind of useful practices and examples. And then here I want to bring some examples of how people have been using learning analytics to improve and optimize learning and education. The first one of the interesting studies that was in 2013 by Kennedy and the colleagues I think from Canada. These are surgeons, and it's a multimodal system. And the surgeons, the students, have been using like a tool, like a sensor, and so they get instant feedback when they use the tool. And this is actually for, I think, for drilling bones. And so they, whenever like they get closer or far away, then they get instant feedback. Like, here, you are too tentative for this stage of the procedure, apply more force. So they teach them through the system, but also give instant feedback based on data that is being collected, and to try to teach the students by themselves without like getting support from the teacher at that moment. So something that is automated to improve students' learning and to be direct support from the system itself. Something like similar to intelligent tutoring systems, but now here into a multimodal setting. The other example is one of the studies that we did in the Netherlands. And this study is that we use self-regulated learning to make kind of interventions in a massive online course. And then this picture in the middle is a video. And in this video, we use the main 3 stages of the self-regulated learning, which is like the forethought and the monitoring and the reflection. And we wanted the students to follow the path that the teachers think it's the optimal path to learn the material. And what we found using learning analytics and data is that for students who followed the path were more connected than the others. Also, some of the others who didn't follow the recommendation using the self-regulated learning theory were dropping more. It's kind of interesting approach. But yeah, we can't always generalize our study results, but it's just like to stress maybe the usefulness of self-regulated learning than the other, and the use of learning analytics to reduce the dropout rate of courses, because this is very important in online education. The other example is from some of the colleagues in the Netherlands, where they use a dashboard to inform learners about how they are doing by comparing them with average graduate students from like the previous years or the previous studies. And so here is that the students get messages like instant feedback based on their performance. And also, not only they get the message, but they get a kind of visualization to compare how they are doing with other colleagues from the same year or from the same course, or other colleagues from the previous years. So this is important to see, okay, I know how the previous students completed their courses and succeed, and so I might follow that path. And so this is kind of recommendation and support the students could get out from data and the digital platforms. The next study is a course recommendation. Is also from a learning management system called Brightspace. And Brightspace, they use something called Degree Compass, and from that system, it uses student data and how they do, which courses they were more successful, and it gives them a recommendation. Okay, the system recommend you maybe to take this course and the measurement or the scale, you get like 7 degrees out of 10 based on like how much the system thinks that this is recommended to you or not. Similar to what you guys are doing in the recommendation system, but here is for educational setting. But it's very interesting how these systems could influence our decisions and how these could somehow inspire or control us. And yeah, and I have been talking with Mahdi and some of the students here about talking about algorithm bias and fairness, and this is very, very important, is to realize how algorithms could control us and how can be aware of all these ethical concepts. One of the most popular examples into learning analytics is course signals. Course signals is like a traffic light. It has green, amber, and red. And this is the dashboard for teachers. And so, for instance, we have 3 students here. One of the students have a red into like the second week or the first week. And so the teacher can make kind of intervention. And like here, for instance, problems are defined in the second week of the semester. And then interventions can be done through like posting a signals in the notification by the teacher, or emailing or texting them, or even arrange a meeting. So if you are green, then you are good to go based on what the advisor, because this is a US system and they have advisors or the instructors in other areas. But yeah, if it's red, then okay, the system based on algorithm, based on kind of algorithms, number of logins and performance, it gives a light, which is red. And this is like, oh, he's in the danger area, he might drop, he might fail, she might be not doing well. So I want to make kind of interventions. And what they found, the guys here, is that the courses they deploy signals has better grades, and also students on signals seek help earlier. They found that. So this is a very interesting tool. A tool we developed at our center into one of the massive online courses. We tried to show statistics, descriptive statistics about how the students are seeing the online videos with the recorded one. Usually instructors might be and other stakeholders might be very much interested to see if the students are watching the whole video or not, or are they watching only the first 15 minutes. And you know, is that like other platforms like YouTube or so are doing such a research, but this one is for education. And yeah, we saw some of the funny moments, is that one of the teachers said, nobody have watched one of our videos. What is the reason? And I told her, I don't know. You have to check, maybe there is some problem here or there in your video or in the content itself. And then, of course, we looked at what time the students join. So kind of the teacher might know when to send a notification based on these timings that the student spent in the online system, or like the online course. And then based on that, she or he might post a message in the discussion forum and try to make kind of communication with the students, because that's very important, as kind of one of the issues in distance education is the feel of isolation of the students, and how maybe learning analytics could improve that through such results, where the teacher can communicate with the students and keep them linked and connected. Yeah. And then very interesting thing that we did is to sending feedback, similar to what the course signals have been doing. So we have here a kind of metrics where we have green and yellow and red. And so very simple, the teacher can program messages. And then I know that, okay, I know that Mohammed here has not been doing well. I click that and send a message, or I will call for a Zoom call, or follow-up incentive, or greater tool. It's kind of any kind of communication, and we are still testing that now. But it's very simple, is that you do this. And the future step that we're doing, that we want to do, is that how the teacher could use this in a very simple way to send automatic feedback without looking at every student, because they told us one of their courses has around 100 students, and so they cannot look at every student and send a message. So they want to develop if then else. If the students do this, we send an automatic message and yeah, kind of fixing that into such a manner. Yeah, the last example here, is something called a ThreadD, and it's a tool that it can be merged with I think Canvas, and it's an open source tool. And then here the teacher or the interested party can see how the students are communicating together in the area of um, of of the digital learning platform. But I know that also there now, I think the study in 2013-14, but I know that a lot of the students are using Discord and Slack to communicate. So it's very important, I think, in the future, how could we link such tools with the main platforms? This is an interesting area to explore in the future. Yeah, so the last question is that what I'm bringing here, even maybe I was a bit fast, but yeah, is that what concerns are raised through the usage of learning analytics and like data science, and back again to the idea about data is oil. Some writer from The Guardian said data is not oil. Whatever tech commentators tell you, it's people lives. And you know, when we talk about this, then we're talking about data surveillance and algorithmic bias and etc. And of course, yeah, some of the articles as well in the newspapers, because it's very important to look at the public discussions, what they're talking about, what they're thinking about. These were actually one of our incentives for doing that with our study, because we need to look at the public, not only look at the researchers and practitioners, but we need also the public, how they see us, what do they think of what we are doing. And so universities are tracking their students. Is it clever or creepy? And some other universities in the US, I've heard they used to give the students kind of smartwatches to see what they're doing. And that was really very creepy for me. It's very interesting as well. Yes. Yeah, so back again to that framework that I presented in 2015, but since I have also a master's degree in information security, so I was aware that, okay, I feel there are some problems. And then I tried to summarize them into a couple of constraints, and these are the privacy, which is very common, accessibility to the data, transparency of the logical practice of learning analytics, looking at policy is very important, as well as security, accuracy of the algorithm and the bias, fairness, and restrictions, as well as ownership. Who owns the data that the student leave behind? Are they the students themselves, or are they? Yeah, and then are they the others? So should we ask the students for consent to carry out learning analytics on their data? I think it's important now with the GDPR, the General Data Protection by the European Union, that we need to have consent. The consent also can give the students the ability to give us permission to collect their data, or even to opt out, like to go out at any point. So the EU, the General Data Protection Regulation, is the most important change in data privacy in 20 years. And it's very important because it has changed the way we have been collecting data, not only in education, but also in other areas. So I think these are some of my last slides, is that here, should we look at responsible learning analytics, such as responsible media or responsible social media, similar to what the researchers at Media Future are doing. And it's very interesting that responsible learning analytics can be linked to be answerable, accountable, liable when things go wrong, be blameworthy by not keeping promises and not fulfilling contractual obligations, adhering to legal and regulatory frameworks like GDPR, and act ethically and morally, and be responsible to have an ability to respond to identified gaps, and have an obligation and contractual duty to act, and as well as be transparent about the criteria and process. So yeah, so these were a kind of a glance about what is learning analytics, where it originates from, and what are kind of examples and constraints. And I see there are areas for future research, especially in inclusiveness, including disadvantaged students, including students with disabilities, into the research area of learning analytics, and also looking at algorithmic bias and how it might differentiate kind of the interventions and what is being done towards students. And also privacy by design is to be reconsidered. And instead of designing and then looking at the privacy at the end, no, designing by considering privacy. This is an important area to look at. And of course, as the EDUCO's report about artificial intelligence, it can be used absolutely. And we saw some examples from China, how they have been using artificial intelligence to report to the parents and to the teachers. So it's kind of, we see kind of some advancement there, even with ethical issues. But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of areas to do artificial intelligence into learning analytics. Okay, my final slide is that the Norwegian government has been stressing and will look into if learning analytics should be implemented everywhere in Norway, and they create an expert group. The director of Slate is in that committee, and they will look into that. Will, I think, provide the report next year, and we are very much interested to know what the government think of learning analytics. Yeah, we have PhD position into learning analytics. The deadline is 15th of December. If you have some good students to recommend, or yeah, if you know someone who might be interested, he or she is welcome to apply.